For the Glory is proudly powered by Mullaney Dairies.
Hello and welcome to another episode of For the Glory, an athlete empowerment production series brought to you by the Wattle Nest. My name is Rachel Condos-Fields and I'm excited to introduce you to more Australian great sporting talent as we share their stories, celebrate their success and embrace the power of sport as a true connector within our community. Joining me again today at the studio desk is Australian track and field athlete and For the Glory co-host Nana Awasu. Welcome back, Nana.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. We're about to talk to someone who's done a challenge that I've never met anyone who's done before.
Pretty special stuff. We are pleased to have with us in the studio Jaimee Rogers, who has taken on the challenge to swim across the English Channel. Welcome, Jaimee.
Yeah, thanks for having me, ladies. Great to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being in the studio with us today. And as Rachel said, you hung up the microphone to swim across the English Channel. Can you talk us through your motivation to do such a grueling challenge?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. It was definitely a grueling challenge. It was a 2-year process of when I first decided to do it and when it was actually time to go and do the swim. So the motivation behind it was, well, first of all, I just feel like you've got one life, so you may as well live it to the fullest and do things that when you set a goal that it should excite you a lot but scare you a little bit and have that element of, oh, can I do this? And that's the reason to go ahead and do it. And I also was swimming for a charity called Got You for Life and I ended up raising $75,000 for them. Yeah, so that was another really great motivation behind that, and having everyone, when you know you've got people that are supporting you through the charity and also just in my work life and my family life all getting behind it, it was just that extra bit of motivation to get across to France.
You just spoke about that it was a 2-year journey to get there. How do you prepare for a swim so long?
Yeah, so when I first signed up, so it's 2 years to be able to get a spot to swim across the channel, and a lot of people attempt it, but more people have actually climbed Mount Everest than successfully swam across the English Channel. Only 1 in 5 people make it, so it is hard to get a spot. So when I first did actually get my position, a former colleague of mine has started an ocean swimming clinic called Ocean Fit, and I rang him and just said to him, you're not going to believe it, but I'm going to swim the English Channel and I don't know where to start. I was a swimmer at school, but a breaststroker in a pool is very different to a freestyler going across for 35 kilometres. And straight away he just said, you've got to contact a gentleman called Vlad. He's at Vlad Swim and he'll be able to help you get across. And it basically went from there. So Vlad, he's known as the guru to get swimmers across, not just the English Channel, but any long distance swim or any sort of swimming goal that you might have. And the plan was put into place from there. So I did actually start pretty much from scratch because yes, I was a pool swimmer, but you have to change your stroke in order to conquer the ocean. You've got to be able to dig a lot deeper when the big waves are coming towards you. I know I grew up in Sydney, so yes, I had beaches around me, but I was not someone that was naturally great in the ocean. I found it quite frightening, so I had to learn how to even just get myself out through the waves and just simple things like that. So that was all at the start of the 2 years, was just learn the ocean, change my stroke, and from there then it was strength and conditioning work twice a week. You're in the pool 5 times a week. Every Saturday was out in the ocean where you would be swimming from, started off small, 2 hours, then 4 hours, 6 hours, 8-hour swims. Then throughout that 2 years, we did cold water training because the English Channel is known to be quite icy. It can vary from 12 degrees, it can go up to 18 degrees. You don't know what you're going to get. So we had to do cold water training, ice baths multiple times a week that could vary from half an hour to 45 minutes. And then you'd be out in the icy cold water of the ocean in the middle of winter. We had to do night training because you start your swim in the dark. And the moon can be quite blinding with the reflection on the water, so you practice swimming when you can't actually see anything around you and how your senses aren't really working and get used to that. So throughout those 2 years, it's quite full on. Your entire life, my family's life, every single part of my work life, all revolved around this English Channel swim.
So not only were you doing with the 10-degree water temperature, the choppy conditions, the night swimming, but you would have also been confronted with jellyfish, sharks and things like that, I'm assuming?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Australia, we are known, we've obviously got plenty of marine life that we need to battle with, and we did come across a few of the grey nurse sharks, but they're the nice ones, so everyone said as we were swimming, but you could see them beneath us, lots of dolphins and plenty of blue bottles. I was stung terribly on multiple occasions, but then when it came to the English Channel, they don't have sharks in there, so that's one thing you don't need to worry about, but it's just full of jellyfish, and I was told, it's not a matter of if you'll get stung, but when, because there's just so many. So just get used to it, but you're being stung during training, so it'll be fine. And it was amazing because as I was swimming in the channel, hundreds were coming through me and over the top of me, into my face, but none actually stung me. So that was one thing I didn't need to worry about during the 12 and a half hours it took me to get across.
And to put it in perspective for everyone at home, we're talking 35 kilometres. So a 50-metre pool it takes 20 laps to do 1 kilometre, so that's a lot of swimming. How long were you out at ocean for?
So it was 12 and a half hours, and so I started at 3:30 in the morning. It was pitch black, and I've got this video where I'm just jumping off the side of the boat into absolute blackness. Like you could not see anything except for my little green light flashing on my back of my goggles and my swimmers. And yeah, it was 12 and a half hours. You stop every sort of 30 minutes to get food thrown to you. You're not allowed to touch anything and nothing can touch you. So
what kind of food are you having?
So this is all part of the training that you practice of how you can eat things while you're swimming. So a lot of gels, things like Tailwind, which is much more tuned to runners, but it's just like all those electrolytes and stuff that you would be used to with your training, just all in a gel form. So even with your gels that you would suck through, because you can't really use your hands because you'd be shaking, that's put into a pop top with water, and then that's attached to rope and it's thrown out to me so I can just quickly squirt it into my mouth. Although in the final few hours of the swim, I was battling really bad shoulder issues, and actually all I ate for the last 3 hours was chocolate and lollies, and I've never done that before. And when I bought those, it was actually more so my friends had stuff to eat on the boat. I thought, oh yeah, I'll buy you some lollies and some chocolate because we'll be out there for a long time, but it was actually all I had for the last few hours of the swim just to try and get across. But
I couldn't imagine anything worse than chocolate that's been in water and...
Yep, the salty water as it comes out to you, and it's got that little puddle and you think, oh well, I'll just eat it and then off I go. Yeah.
Good on you. I'm keen to go back to the charity component. What was the motivation to partner with Gotcha for Life?
So Gotcha for Life is a charity that I now am an ambassador for, and mental health for me is something that's really serious. I've grown up in a family where my mum was impacted with mental health, and she openly talks about it so that we can help others to just go and make sure that you're okay. And what I love about Gotcha for Life is not worrying alone, and especially when we were during COVID, I know everyone in Melbourne was doing it so tough, and in Sydney, and I remember thinking as well, you just want to make sure that everyone's okay, and that's what Gotcha for Life was all about, is that you don't worry alone. Pick up a phone and call your friends or call your colleagues and just check in to make sure that people are okay. And growing up in an environment where you see firsthand just how serious the impacts are of mental health is why I wanted to get involved. I don't think we need to raise awareness anymore. It's just about doing action, and that's what I love about Gotcha for Life. They're out in the community, they're doing courses in schools and out in sports clubs and just trying to raise that mental fitness. And so I wanted to do whatever I could in my part to help make a difference and to make some change around that space.
And $70,000 is no small sum. What impact has that had?
Well, had a huge impact. So I did post out there some of the things that the money would go towards, especially when I was trying to fundraise. I actually got Gus Wallen, who is the founder, just to say what exactly it would be doing. And it goes straight back into the community and when they do all these courses. And I've been to some of those where it's the Tomorrow Woman and the Tomorrow Man. And it's great because I went to a Tomorrow Woman course and it was literally just getting everyone within the Avalon community. I'm not from that area, but I went over to have a look at it in the Avalon community, and the money goes towards that, where they're all together, bring people together to talk, have conversations, and just open up and talk about your feelings in an environment that you might not normally do so, but a really comfortable space.
You talked about in your swim how you had a sore shoulder. How did you mentally prepare for the swim before, during and after?
Yeah, it's a good question because, how do you get yourself mentally ready to go and swim for 12 and a half hours? We don't know how long you're going to be out there for. So in all of my swims, I think in training, you go through the darkest of places to battle through to get to the end of your training sessions. There were so many, especially during winter when it was icy cold and your body would be shivering and you just kept telling yourself, I just want to get out, I want to get out. And then you wouldn't, but you'd push through. And so when it came to the channel, there was never a time during the channel that I wanted to stop, because that just in my head was never going to be an option. I was not going to stop. I was going to get to France. And in training, I'd had a lot of issues with my hip flexors and my lower back. But with swimming, you kind of overcome that. And I had a really great physio, and so she'd given me exercises to do that if I had problems during the swim, you go into a ball and it releases it. What has never happened before and happened in the swim was my shoulder gave way. And what happened was, because I started in the dark and it was very choppy, I couldn't see how big the waves actually were, so my stroke wouldn't have been proper, so the pressure would have gone onto my shoulder joint. And about 3 hours out from the finish was when my shoulder had just had enough. And so every single stroke, it felt like a knife was just stabbing into my shoulder. But I just kept telling myself that I know a great shoulder surgeon, I know a great physio, just get to the end and you can worry about what's happened after that, even if you've got to carry your arm. And with swimming, like, you need your arm. So it was just more just continuously telling myself that over and over and over again. Like, you know a good shoulder surgeon, you know a physio, just get to the end. And I think when you go through those dark moments during training, that's how you become mentally stronger to be able to continue to get through.
And did you end up needing the surgeon?
No, no, I did not. And it was funny because as soon as I got to the end, I mean, some people when they finish the channel, they finish on the beautiful beach and they can walk along the beach. I finished on rocks, so I had to climb out over the rocks to get to the point where you put your arms up, and straight away my arms are flying up, so my shoulder was okay then. And then it's actually still a bit sore these days, but it definitely didn't need surgery.
So Jaimee, when you go and achieve something as remarkable as what you did, do you come back and do you set another goal that's bigger and better and more ambitious, or how do you get back into normal life, so to speak?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I actually remember being on the plane thinking that exact thing as I was flying back to Australia, thinking, what do you do now? Like, you've just swam between 2 countries. Now what? And it was definitely something that I battled with a while. So I will do something else, but I'm going down more the running path and probably a little bit more of a family friendly, because I've got 2 little children. My son, literally, one of them just turned 3, so his whole life revolved around the English Channel, and my other one's 5. So I'm going to try and do a bit more of a running, looking like the Honolulu Marathon at the end of the year. So it's a bit more of a family friendly goal. They can all come with me and be there at the end.
Fantastic. Now, outside of all of this training, I believe that you're usually in our seats and you're a bit of a TV presenter, is that right?
Yes, I am. So I think you guys are doing a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. We're new to this. It's fun.
I'm not normally the one being asked the question, so it's nice to have the role reversed.
Well, good on you. Sorry, Nana, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that you're in sports media. How important is representation of women on the screen?
Oh, so important. I think it's where I started was in the racing world, and when I first started there was absolutely hardly any women that were involved at all, and now they're everywhere. And I think it's so important across whether it's cricket or basketball, whatever sport it might be, that young girls and boys as well, that you can actually look and see, I want to be that person. And I think it's just so important. I was at the cricket just recently for the Boxing Day test, and this little girl came running over to Alyssa Healy, and I was like, I want to have my photo. And I thought, yeah, exactly. When I grew up, we didn't have that, especially in the world of cricket. So I know we did have amazing cricketers, but we just didn't see them on TV. And I think it's really nice that little girls can have something to look up to.
Well, congratulations, Jaimee, on using your love of sport, your mental power to do things for positive change. We're really impressed with your story and take our hat off to you. We're running out of time, but before we wrap up, Nana does throw to our guests 2 trivia questions, and we'll just see if you're as fierce outside the water as what you are in it.
I should be hopefully good.
Well, I hear you're a cricket fan, so my first question for you is, which country did Australia verse in their first ever test match?
First ever test match?
Yes.
Oh, I reckon I read this recently. Is it England?
Bingo!
Oh,
you are
good.
correct. It was the England cricket team. And my final question for you is, which is the first African team to make the Soccer World Cup?
Oh, it was this year. Was it Tunisia?
No, it was actually Egypt.
Oh, Egypt. Tunisia
1
made
out
their
of 2
first
though.
final.
Not
Yeah.
bad.
Not bad.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you in studio today. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
No, thank you so much. Maybe we can do some running sessions together. I won't be running as far, but I can be there for some support.
You can do that. You'll have to come on, hurry up.
She'll get you out of the blocks.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry guys, that concludes this episode of For the Glory, but please be sure to tune in next time as we continue to bring more stories from the elite athlete world. So thanks everyone, take care until next time.